Hey folks, my name is Henri Makembe, and welcome to Do Big Talks, where we discuss the latest trends in the digital world. On today's episode, we'll be talking about preparing for end-of-year fundraising. Very, very exciting period for all the nonprofits out there. Joining us today is Mitu Yilma, who is the digital director for Lady Gaga's own Born This Way Foundation. Mitu, welcome. Why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me, Henry. I think this is the second time you've interviewed me. The first time was for my job. My name is Mitu. I use she, her pronouns, and I am digital director for Born This Way Foundation, where I get to tell the story of our work and build and cultivate relationship with our online communities.
Thank you for that introduction. And I am glad that you got the job because I've enjoyed working with you over the last couple of years. So turned out well for everybody involved. Well,
Thank you.
Mitu, you do a lot for the foundation, but I think for this specific conversation, we want to kind of focus around fundraising, right? And specifically end of the year fundraising. So we know that COVID has impacted fundraising for nonprofit in the last couple of years. Can you talk a little bit about how the foundation approaches end of the year fundraising and some of the success that you've had over the last couple of years?
For sure. I would say our success and our challenge, not to spoil the next question you're asking, is around breaking through the noise. And one thing that we have found to be really effective is not treating it as competing with other organizations for attention. I think every single digital marketer has had that moment of nervousness around Giving Tuesday where you're like, there's thousands and millions of other organizations asking for money. And so instead of thinking of it like a competition, thinking of end of year giving as an opportunity to really deepen the relationship you have with the online community that you've built. And so you can do that through targeted ads, list segmentation, layered communication, just bringing people along a journey with you.
That is so well said. I think it's not a competition. It's about telling your story. And I really, really love that approach. I think us at Do Big Things, we really focus on telling folks not to treat their email list like an ATM. So I think that approach of storytelling is amazing. So thank you for that. And I really love the fact that you're thinking about layering, right? I think a lot of folks think that end of the year fundraising, especially around Giving Tuesday, is all about email. But while email is king, I think kind of trying to provide a surround sound to your folks is a very well thought out approach. What have you seen work specifically in the last couple of years and with that approach?
I would say, and I'm curious about your answer on this too, not to turn the tables on this, but a few years ago, prior to joining Born This Way Foundation, I worked in more political and advocacy campaigns. So I was definitely guilty of those emails where it's like, donate by midnight or everything's going to explode. Like your money is preventing this forest fire. When in reality, in the last few years, it's been really wonderful to lean into targeted storytelling so that you're working with, for, and alongside your community, talking about the why for giving, the impact of their giving, the how, what it's going to, versus just yelling at them and treating it, to your point, Henry, like an ATM machine.
Yeah, I think that's that's exactly what we've seen work, and I can echo that more. And we've been surprised, I think, from our perspective, about how authentic storytelling ends up generating a lot of fundraising help, right? And I think from our perspective, we really like to lean in on that, so that if you tell a good story that resonate with your community that you've built, they tend to be more responsive. Adding some urgency and deadlines is always helpful, but there's a balance to be struck there, right? So from our perspective, that's really kind of what we focus on.
For sure. One of my favorite examples of that, and this isn't in giving, so please forgive me for breaking format, is Born This Way Foundation launched a program called the Be There Certificate in partnership with Jack.org. And as a plug, it's a free online mental health course available in English, French, and Spanish, teaching you how to kindly and safely offer mental health support to anyone, including yourself. And with that, we had some wonderful videos from our co-founder, Lady Gaga, as well as from our global advisory board of young people. So these are students, these are young workers, these are people who can talk about the importance of caring for their own, their peers, their friends' mental health. And we found that the videos performed really similarly. So we did this huge brand lift study on them. And we found that a couple of the videos actually outperformed videos from our co-founder. So it just shows the importance of really targeted appeals and storytelling, where that is as important as when you have someone with this huge, broad international reach.
That is awesome. And we'll be sure to include the link so folks who are interested in mental health support can join the campaign as well, because that's been a campaign that we've seen flourish and love the work that you guys are doing on that. So thank you for that work.
Thanks, Henry.
And spinning back to fundraising a little bit, what have you seen from your perspective change over the last year or so when it came to fundraising?
I would say in the last year or two, we've seen a huge increase in awareness when it comes to campaigns. So, this is acknowledging the environment, economic hardships, national and international social justice movements, and so many more issues. So, whenever I design an appeal campaign, especially when it comes to fundraising, I think the first really important step is acknowledging the context in which your communities may exist, and then taking it a step further, how does their fundraising help to address those harms and build this better future? Born This Way Foundation always says that we're working to build a kinder and braver world with and for young people. And so that means that every time that you donate to Born This Way Foundation and our programs, you're helping to build that kinder and braver world that we're envisioning together, while acknowledging the harms that exist.
I really love that approach. I think what we found is a lot of folks are often struggling to figure out how to incorporate the outwardly context into their digital program. Do you have a checklist or do you have suggestions of what type of questions folks should be asking themselves when they're trying to integrate that outwardly context into their digital fundraising program?
For sure. So, one thing that we're a really big fan of, and I know that you've been part of this, Henry, is social listening. So, making sure that we understand our community, understand what they're interacting with online, and then what is helpful to bring into our communications, and also just generally being aware. So, we can't do a Pride fundraising campaign without acknowledging the bills that are popping up all over the US and globally that are addressing and attacking trans youth. And so it's important to have the awareness of the outside world, while acknowledging what's going on and then making the appeal connecting to it.
That is so great. Yes, your supporters and community are not living in a vacuum and really, taking leading off with being saying what's happening around them. I think is such a great move. I hope more folks take that on as end of year giving approaches. What do you think will be some of the biggest challenges this year?
I would say, again, breaking through the noise, there's a ton of people trying to donate. Henry, are you trying not to laugh?
No, I'm smiling.
Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure I'm not being unintentionally funny. I would say, again, breaking through the noise. So making sure that you're working to listen to your community, appeal to them directly, and make sure that your appeals feel contextually relevant. And so last year and the year prior, for example, Born This Way Foundation launched Channel Kindness Holiday as the theme of our end of year giving. Channel Kindness, channelkindness.org, is our online storytelling platform where people can also take action in honor of kindness. And so for Channel Kindness Holiday, in acknowledgement of what's going on in the larger world, when you donated to Born This Way Foundation during that campaign, your funds also went to community organizations meeting unmet needs across the country as we continue to deal with an economy that is struggling, as we continue to deal with social justice movements. And so making sure that your end of year appeals acknowledge these things is gives people an opportunity to give to things that they believe in. People want to get involved. People want to act and donate. They just don't always know where to begin.
That's great. So kind of almost using your end of the year fundraising to curate a list that you think your community will respond to in addition to giving to you. That is
Yeah,
brilliant. Awesome.
thank you.
Lastly, you know, just to wrap up here, what do you think are three things that nonprofits should consider as they're coming up with their plan for end of the year giving this year?
For sure. I would say one is storytelling. I know I'm the most broken record on the planet, but list segmentation, targeted ads, social listening, layered communication, all of this helps to tell a better targeted story. And the second is your community, understanding and appealing directly to your community, making sure that they understand the why for their giving, in addition to being encouraged to give. And then the last is kind of a twofer. I'm sneaking a fourth one in, impact and follow up. So let people know exactly where their dollars are going, and then follow up later and let them know how it's going. So you gave to this program, which helped to build this thing. Here is how that thing is going. And that serves, one, as an accountability exercise with your donors, and two, as an invitation for them to keep giving as they enjoy the success of the program that they contributed to.
Oh, that is such a great list. Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree more with the follow up. I think oftentimes organization get focused very much on Giving Tuesday and the year fundraising, and then January and February comes along and there is no follow up. Right? I think thinking of it through that entire cycle would be very helpful. Well, Mithi, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Henry.
Of course. And to the rest of you folks, thank you for watching the latest installment of Do Big Talks. If you have any topics you'd love to discuss, please, you can reach us at info@dobigthings.com and stay tuned for future episodes. Thank you all. Have a good one.